Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Cheryl Elston. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by Air Commodore Peter McDermott, retired, Air Force Association National Vice President, and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, flowers of the forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Leonard John Porter. Leonard Porter was born on the 21st of September 1915, the eldest son of Joseph and Eva May Porter. Young Leonard grew up in Ipswich in Queensland, where he attended state school and then technical college. He went on to the University of Queensland, earning his junior public service certificate in November 1941. By then he was married, having wed Audra Pearl Watson on the 25th of March 1940. The couple were living in North Ipswich and Porter was working as a clerk. Leonard Porter enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 28th of June 1943. He had been serving as a corporal with the 5th Australian Camp Hospital but was discharged in order to join the RAAF. After initial training at Kingaroy, Porter began training as a navigator. In late November 1943, he embarked at Sydney for overseas service. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners, and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Arriving in Canada in December, Porter continued his training in Winnipeg. In June 1944, he left Canada, arriving in the United Kingdom towards the end of the month. In September, Porter joined No. 30 Operational Training Unit, which was based at RAF Hickson. As part of Bomber Command, the unit trained night bomber crews using Vickers Wellington twin-engine, long-range medium bombers. On the 8th of January 1945, Flight Sergeant Porter was the navigator aboard a Wellington on a bombing detail. The aircraft was in the process of carrying out wind finding, flying just below the cloud, when it was seen to turn and enter a shallow dive. The aircraft was travelling at very high speed when a bang was heard and pieces of the aircraft were seen to fly off. The aircraft dived at a steep angle into the ground, killing the crew of 6, including Flight Sergeant Leonard Porter, who was 29 years old. His remains were buried 3 days later in Blaken Cemetery in Chester, underneath the inscription, "Loved in life, honoured in death." His name is listed on the roll of honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photo of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Leonard John Porter, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the signing of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozier or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's redevelopment project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.